guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to cut and sew this beautiful long maxi gathered waist gown with an armhole princess dart. I really want to appreciate those that have subscribed. Many thanks. If you have not subscribed, kindly do that now. So let's get started. I'll be working with these 3 yards of fabric. I'll be using this pattern paper to draft both the front and the back. This is the front and this is the back. On the back, I added 1 inch for zipper allowance. This is the shoulder line where I'll start my measurement. I'll be working on both the front and the back piece. So the full length of the gown is 60 inches. I'll be drafting from my shoulder to waist, which is 17.5. It's actually 17 inches. Then I'll use the 1/2 inch to join it to the lower part. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches. I'll add 1/2 inch and that is 8.5. I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant. Starting my measurement from the zip line, I'll do the same on the back piece. From the shoulder, I'll measure 8 inches, which is my armhole and also my chest line. Then I'll connect the points. I'll do the same on the front piece and connect the points. I'll measure my shoulder measurement, which is 8.5 inches on my chest line. And I'll connect the points. I'll do the same on the back piece. So for the front armhole, I will measure this vertical line, which is 8 inches. And then mark the midpoint, which is 4 inches. From the 4 inches, I will come in by 0.75. Then I will take my ruler and mark a slant line from the 0.75 to the edge of the shoulder line. Then I'll use my armhole curve to curve my armhole to the 0.75. And that is it for the front armhole. For the back armhole, I'll also take the midpoint, but come in by 1/2 inch, make a slant line from the 1/2 inch, then curve my armhole. So for the neck, I'll be using 4 inch for the width and 4.5 inch for the depth. That is for the front neck. And I'll make a curve. So for the back, I'll use the same 4 inch for the width, then 2 inch for the depth and make a curve. So the next measurement I'll be taking is my shoulder to bust point. Mine is 10.5. I'll measure 10.5 and I'll connect the points together. So on the back, I'll not measure my shoulder to bust point. I'll measure my shoulder to back half length. Mine is 15 inches. I'll go ahead and connect the points. The next measurement is my bust span measurement, which is the distance from one nipple to another divided by 2 plus half. Mine is 8. 8 divided by 2 plus half is 4.5 inches. So I'll measure 4.5 inches on my waistline and my bust line. Then I'll come down by 1 inch and connect the points from the 1 inch. For my dart, I'll be using 1.5 inches, so I'll mark out 0.75 on both sides and create my dart. For the back, I'll measure my bust span also on the waist and on the chest line, then come down by 2 inches and connect the point from the 2 inches. So for the back, I'll be using 1 inch for my dart, so I'll measure 1/2 inch on both sides and create my dart. For my zip tightening, I'll measure 1 inch. You can use 1/2 if your back is not deep. Mine is deep, that's why I'm using 1 inch. This is just to avoid zip bulge and make your zip fitted. From the 1 inch, I'll make a slant. So from this point to the midpoint of my armhole, I'll use a curved ruler to create a curve. I'll be taking my circumference measurement. My bust circumference is 41 inches, divided by 4 is 10.25. Then I'll add 1/2 inch for the dart I'll be taking, then 2 inch for sewing allowance. My waist circumference is 36, divided by 4 is 9 inches, plus 1.5 inches for dart and 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll connect the points. For the back on the chest line, I'll measure the same 10.25 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. I'll measure 9 inch on the waist, then 1 inch for dart and 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then I'll connect the points. I'll extend my zipper tightening because I feel it's not high enough, so I won't be using the first one. So what I'll be doing is I'll extend this dart and also reshape the armhole, because if I cut it this way, when joining the fabric, it won't align. So from the midpoint of the armhole, I'll come down by 1 inch. Then from the 1 inch, I'll come up by 1.5 inches. So from the 1.5 inches, I'll connect it to this point. This is my new princess dart. I won't be using this other one. So I can go ahead and make another armhole. After joining my fabric and it is aligned, what I'll do is I will reshape my armhole before attaching the sleeve. So I'll label it before cutting it. This is my chest line, my bust point, my waist. So this is my middle front, my side front, and my back piece. So when tracing this on your fabric, the middle front should be on fold, 2 pieces for the side and 2 pieces for the back. So I've gone ahead to trace it on the lining. As you can see, the middle front is on fold, and I have 2 pieces for the side and 2 pieces for the back. Because I'll be cutting and sewing separately on the lining and the fabric. So on the back, I'll fold in 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Then I did not forget to notch my dart. I did the same on the fabric. I cut the mid front on fold and 2 pieces for the side and the back piece, and I notched the dart too. As you can see, I ironed the hair stain on the fabric just because the fabric is too soft and light, so I want it to be a bit thick so it will be easy to work with. So I'll be joining the sides with 1/2 inch on the wrong side. So I'll do the same on the lining. For the back piece on the fabric, I will sew in the dart and iron in my zipper allowance. So for the back piece, I've joined the dart and this is the space for the zip tightening. I did the same thing for the back lining. So this is it. I've gone ahead to sew the front dart separately on the fabric and the lining. So I will join the right side together and first pin down the neckline and sew it very close. So I'll do the same on the back piece. Pin down the neck, but I won't sew the neck completely. I'll stop on the zipper allowance. So this is it. I turned it on the right side and ironed it and it came out really neat. So I did the same thing on the back piece. So I'll be joining the shoulders together. I will ensure the right sides are facing each other. Then I'll turn it this way, the lining together and the fabric together. I'll first pin it down, then sew it together. So I'll make sure they are aligned before sewing it together. So this is how it came out. It came out really neat. I'll be marking out my circumference measurements. Again, this time divided by 2. I'll mark it separately on my fabric and on my lining, and I'll also sew it separately too. So this is how it came out. I've joined it separately, the lining and the fabric. So I'll be using the remaining fabric on the lower part. The width is 90 inches and the length is 42 inches. I folded 1 inch for zipper allowance on both sides. Then I'll use the longest stitch on my sewing machine to sew 1/2 inch starting from the zipper allowance all through the 90 inches of my fabric. I'll take my time and gather it, and I'll make sure it is the size of my waist. I'll also be joining the gathers separately on the fabric and on the lining. I'll be joining the fabric first. I'll ensure the right sides are facing each other. Then I'll go ahead and pin it together before sewing it with a 1/2 inch allowance. So I've done that. I'll also be making the gathers for the lining. The length I'm using is 22 inches and the width is 60 inches. If you want it really full, you can use more than that. For the lining, I'll not be gathering it. I'll be pleating it this way. And I left 1 inch on both sides for zipper allowance. I'll go ahead and sew the 1 inch for the zipper allowance to where I want the zip to stop on the fabric, and I'll do the same on the lining. I've gone ahead to sew the 1 inch for zipper allowance, and I did the same on the lining. I'll pin down my zip. I'll make sure the waist and the neck are aligned before sewing the zip. As you can see, I'm fixing the zip just on the fabric. So I've finished fixing the zip. The waist is aligned and also the neck. Remember, I did not completely sew the back neck. I'll complete it now and I'll be joining it with the zip. I'll be cutting out the excess zip. I'll open up the zip, and on each side, I will join the lining and fabric together with the zip in the middle. I will sew very close to the zip. I'll do the same thing on the other side. This is how it's going to look like. This is the back, this is the front, this is the inside front, and this is the inside back. You can see how neat it is. Even on the neckline, it is neat. For the sleeve, I have a video on how to draft a basic sleeve. I'll put the link on the description box below. The length is 13 inches. I used 2 inches to hem it, and I've gone ahead to sew the side seam. Go ahead and attach the sleeve. I'll make sure the right sides are facing each other and the seam allowance are aligned and the shoulder is also aligned. Then I'll pin it together and sew it with 1/2 inch. So this is the final look. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you on my next one. Bye.